Welcome to another Photography Simplified video. My name is Chris, and in these videos, I do my best to simplify digital photography for you with the goal of helping you to get out and take great photos. In today's video, we're going to be covering focus modes. First, let's define what focus is. Focus is getting the maximum amount of sharpness and detail from your image. Images that are in focus will look clear and sharp, and images that are out of focus will look blurry or distorted. By the way, if this video ends up helping you, please leave a like and subscribe so you can see my other beginner tutorials as well. Most of our modern camera lenses will come with automatic focus modes, where the lens will do a lot of the decision making and work for you. And they will also let you manually focus using the focus ring on the lens. Let's cover some of the main automatic focus modes, starting with single autofocus. Please note that the name of the automatic focus modes may vary from brand to brand. For single autofocus mode, AFS or one-shot AF, focus is locked onto your subject and does not move once it's set. This means that you need to refocus if your subject moves. For example, if you're photographing a subject and it moves left or right or stays within the same plane of focus, the locked focus will be okay and we don't need to refocus because the subject is staying in the same plane. However, if the subject moves out of that locked plane of focus, which is either closer or farther away from the camera, then you would need to refocus before taking the image. Single autofocus mode is better for still subjects and slow-moving subjects for this reason. If your subject is staying in the same position or is static, single autofocus mode will help you to capture a great image. So when you're in single autofocus mode and you lightly push down your shutter button, it will lock focus on the subject and hold that focus until you either take the image or release the shutter button and repress it again, locking focus on the subject a second time. So for instance, if you're in single autofocus and your subject moves closer or farther from the camera, you'll need to hold that shutter button down again to refocus and lock on your subject. Next, let's discuss continuous autofocus. Continuous autofocus mode, AFC or AI servo, tracks a moving subject. This means that you don't need to refocus if the subject moves to a different focal plane. You could track a subject as it moves away from you or towards you. In continuous autofocus mode, it's going to be best for situations where your subject is moving, things like action, sports, or wildlife. In continuous autofocus mode, when you lightly push down the shutter button, it will start to track the identified subject, even if it's moving in your frame. Unlike single autofocus mode, you will not need to release the shutter button and refocus every time your subject moves. You can simply lightly hold down the shutter button, track your subject, and take the image when you're ready. Automatic autofocus mode, or AFA or AI Focus AF, combines both single and continuous modes. In this mode, the camera will switch modes depending on the subject's movement. In this mode, your camera will do its best job at identifying whether your subject is still or moving, and then switch to whichever mode it deems appropriate. This mode can be better for unpredictable situations where you may not know what to expect. Manual focus mode uses no automatic settings at all. You will manually turn the focus ring on your lens by hand to adjust the focus you want. This is good for things like photos of the stars, macro photography, or time lapses if you don't want your focus changing between images, or if you just need a particular focus for a difficult situation. You can use manual focus and do it by hand. If you're finding this video helpful, by the way, there may be more helpful content in my book, Photography Simplified.
If you would like a visual beginner's guide to photography, check out my book, Photography Simplified. available in both paperback and ebook format on Amazon. The book covers topics including exposure and the exposure triangle, sharpness and focus, gear, composition, editing, and more. It even includes a list of beginner tips. There are helpful graphics to explain each of the topics that are covered in the book. I've put a lot of work into this book to include everything I wish I could have known when I started out. If you think the book could be helpful to you and haven't already, check the link in the description for more information.
Next, let's look at how to switch our focus mode using the camera. So to change the focus mode on my Canon camera here, I can press this Q button, and in the bottom left, I can choose my autofocus mode. The names will vary again based on your camera's brand, but I have one shot, which is single autofocus, AI focus, which is automatic autofocus, and AI servo, which is continuous autofocus. So AI focus is the fully automatic, which will switch between the two. AI servo, here I have my continuous for moving subjects and one shot for still subjects. Another helpful tool that a lot of newer cameras have that can help you nail your focus is called focus peeping. Focus peeping will highlight the areas of your image that are in focus, so that way you can know exactly what area you have locked your focus on, and this can really help you to make sure you nail just the right focus. Let's look at how to do that on the camera. On newer cameras like my Canon R5, if you're shooting in manual focus mode, you can enable focus peeping. Again, this is only in manual focus mode, but I can go into my camera settings, and under the autofocus settings menu, I can see manual focus peaking settings. I can enable this to on, choose a level, and choose a color. And now when I go back, you can see that it is highlighting red whatever is in focus on my image. If I adjust my focus ring, you can see the parts that are in focus get highlighted red. This will help you to know what areas of your image are in focus when using manual focus mode. Hopefully you feel more comfortable now with focus modes and when to use which. Remember, if your subject is still or not really moving, single autofocus can be great for things like portraits or landscapes and so on. However, if your subject is moving or there is fast action within your scene, continuous autofocus mode can be a great solution. But also remember, you may want to leave certain parts of your image out of focus for artistic effect or emphasis on a given subject. Hopefully this video helps you. Next week, we'll cover focus areas and how they relate to focus modes.